Welcome to 282 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of November 2017, which was Thor Ragnarok.
I guess we should specify or clarify or whatever the word is, that we did not watch the previous Thor movies as part of this challenge, which is kind of unfortunate. But again, remember that this is all these last 25 movies are all, we put these in as we were going, and I remember I was looking at November 2017 and trying to predict which movie was going to be the highest grossing. And I saw this movie was coming out, and I was like, okay, this has a decent chance. But I was like, the other two Thor movies didn't make that much money. Like, they weren't, like, terrible, but they weren't, that great. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. And then I'm like, in hindsight, this is very naive of me to assume. But I was like, considering Wonder Woman was good, I think Justice League might be good. And I think Justice League might win, and it didn't. So let me put it this way: I'm glad we watched this instead of Justice League.
Yeah.
But so okay, you two saw the first Thor movie when it came out, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Approximate.
Okay. So and then I saw it a bit ago, shortly before we watched the Avengers on my own, and then. I've seen Dark World. I basically told these two the super basic info from it, which is really not much because Dark World is just really just there. So, yeah. This is definitely my favorite of the Thor movies. Pretty easily.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, this is... If there is a closest... like other MCU film, it's the closest one I think to it is Guardians 1
I think so.
Yeah.
in terms of like the tone and kind of the space aesthetic kind of, because I have heard some complaints about people who say this movie's too focused on the humor and like it doesn't really focus on like the story and the seriousness of what's going on, and like I can kind of get that, but at the same time, how many like stories have we seen that are like really serious now?
That and it's Ragnarok, so it's like when you hear that it's by itself, it's like the end of the world. So you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of need to, diffuse the tension a few times.
Yeah, and I would say like
or two.
yeah, because that's the thing. Like I would say, the first Thor movie is good, but it's pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one was really bland. So they kind of needed to do the opposite of bland. So we got this, and I'm fine. I'll take this. I'll definitely take this over Dark World. So, and again, that's not to say there aren't like good, serious kind of movies. Like I guess Winter Soldier is probably the best example of that, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's Captain America. That's that. This is Thor. Like I never saw Thor as like the serious one, So I
Yeah.
like I kind of understand where people are coming from where they say that, but I just don't agree. So so there.
You have like Captain and everything. I like they do this in like all of the other movies that we've seen, but I guess seeing it here, especially since it was now we know that it's 2 years after like the last Avengers movie and everything. I really like the continuity. Like they talk about Tony, the Hulk makes an appearance in here.
Yeah, that was I guess maybe I think I heard that like in the trailers it spoiled this, but I guess I forgot like what it spoiled. So when he appeared, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, see, I knew he was in this and had like a pretty big part. So, yeah. Yeah, I heard that the trailers apparently did spoil that he was in this movie, which I'm like, yeah, actually, that would have been a really good secret to keep, that Hulk was in this movie. Because actually, one thing, when did I say this? I think I said this for Spider-Man, how I was like, it's kind of like an Iron Man 4, in a sense. Well, it's kind of like part of this is like Incredible Hulk 2, because we never got a sequel to that first Incredible Hulk, in the MCU, Incredible Hulk movie. And well, the thing is, for that, again, Edward Norton was Banner in that, right? So it's a little bit weird,
Yeah.
but so it's like it kind of makes sense if like that they wouldn't make an Incredible Hulk 2, especially since I believe of the MCU films that is the one that made the least money. It's definitely near the bottom if it's not the bottom. And honestly, I like that movie like more than most people do, but it is in the lower part of the MCU films. But it's nice to see more of an actual focus on him because we haven't really seen him that much.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this is the first time I got like a sense of what his personality is like, and
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, Bruce Banner is me. Like, he's super stressed out. He's freaking out half the time. He's like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm just like, this man is me.
So you want to Hulk smash?
Yes.
You want to become
Sometimes I do.
You want to
and
become a large buff green person to destroy everything?
No, Valen, you're asking the wrong question. Mian,
Yeah.
do you want to stay in school and get 7 PhDs?
No. Like, he's like this guy just crippled with so much anxiety, and I'm just like, wow. That is very relatable.
My for She-Hulk in the future. That would be the funniest shit. Oh my god.
Like,
Oh my god.
Just, super like non-threatening small person. You're not even that small, but you're,
Yeah, but
small enough.
I'm the one who's the small one.
I guess, like, going off of, like, characters, I really liked, like, all the characters,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
Loki. I love Loki in this
That's hilarious.
He is great in this movie.
Yeah, honestly,
And
all the
thing
characters
is
are
that
great.
they kept his character too. Like
Mhm.
they didn't do like you know how usually when the villain like changes to the good side, it's like he makes a full conversion and everything,
Yeah.
and everyone's like whoop-de-doo. No. Loki is still his normal self. It's just that he's picking
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, like I would say in terms of in Dark World, pretty much the only thing that like stands out about that movie is the relationship between Thor and Loki, because this is shortly after Avengers, so Thor is still like pissed off at Loki, right? And Loki's
Yeah.
like in like a prison kind of thing in that movie, and so there's this whole thing about like when the villain guy like who like totally sucks but whatever is like trying to destroy stuff, they're like, oh, we need Loki's help, and Thor's like, fucking really, like, he doesn't want to do it, but so it's actual interesting dynamic between them, and like where they both kind of understand each other more, and like again it's the same thing here where like Loki ends up helping because well, he kind of wants to do his own thing, and if the dude destroys his stuff, then he can't do his own thing, right? So
Yeah.
and again, the very end of Dark World, it's revealed that Loki has kind of is disguising himself as Odin, right? So again, it was like a means to an end, and it doesn't break his character, but it does add to the character, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, because especially before, like I would say, do I like Thor? Sure. Do I like Banner? Sure. But like I didn't really like get a really good sense of who they are besides just like general nice hero person, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this added more to that a good amount, and like all the relationships between kind of those three. So Loki, Thor, and Bruce Banner are like, so they have a really good dynamic with each other, and you really feel like you learn more about them through this.
It reminds me of how like they actually developed Natasha in Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
It reminded me of that, and I was like, oh, good. Finally, we're getting like all the extra. We just don't have Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye hasn't made an appearance.
Yeah, I have no idea if he. I assume he must show up again, probably in Infinity War.
I
But
hope so. Like, everyone else on the team is now, like, at least you have a better sense of who they are. It's just Hawkeye is just
yeah,
still mysterious. We even know more about Loki now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like. Oh, I okay. This is something that I specifically wanted to point out or mention. I remember. I think I said this in the Transformers 3 discussion. Where there was like that character in Transformers 3 who like he's a guy who like sided with the villain because he was basically like, look man, I just think this is the dude who's gonna win, so I just don't want to die, right? And I was like, that's a very common type of character, but they never like do good. That character always sucks. He's just an annoying jackass who like you don't care about, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, I feel like this would be an interesting character if you do him well, and they actually kind of do this well here. With like,
Oh yeah.
I don't remember his name, but like the guy here who's just like he's like I'm a janitor or whatever, and Hella's like all right, fine, and just like takes him in, and then at the end he's just like, yeah, because it's clear that he doesn't really want to do this, but at the same time he's like I kind of gotta do it so I don't get killed, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
again, it's not like a lot. He's not like a great character, but it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Here's that thing I mentioned a while ago, and see, it can actually work. Which I guess we should also talk about Hella.
She is hella strong.
Oh my god. So,
She's hella crazy.
I remember when we talked about with Spider-Man, the Vulture and Spider-Man, right? His whole thing was that he was like super down to earth and like relatable yet like creepy at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the opposite, but it still works.
Yeah.
Because
think
Hella's
so
just
too, yeah.
fucking nuts, but like again, it's kind of like this is not a great like way of describing it, but it's like a quote unquote serious Dubois in a sense where it's like she's just evil and super powerful, and she knows it and she doesn't care.
I
There's
see.
no
Doesn't really-
sympathetic angle at all, but like
Nope.
that's not the point, right? So
That's what makes it
I would-
that's what makes it satisfying when they summon like Suitor at the end,
oh yeah,
and he just
Yeah.
like comes out with his flaming sword and he's like, smash!
yeah, yeah. So there's the and
Hulk like catapults himself.
oh yeah,
And they're like, no.
Hulk, you dumbass. Yeah, yeah. So there's there's a lot of really fun moments in this. Like I'm trying to think of like anything I can say that's like a criticism, and I guess like the only thing I can think of is that like I don't know, like the plot itself is not super like interesting. The plot is not like the Winter Soldier, but it didn't need to be, so it's not
Yeah.
is that really a bad thing? I mean, no.
Is this the funniest Marvel movie we've watched? Like, have the most like
Yeah.
times we
I
laughed?
think so.
Yeah, I'd say like probably the closest would be probably Spider-Man and
Yeah.
maybe Guardians 2, but again, Guardians 2 is kind of different, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of just pure, I think so. I think if I had to like choose, I'm also doing like a MCU film ranking list that's separate from this stuff, but I'm putting this just a little bit below Spider-Man and Guardians 2 for me.
I think I did something similar.
Because again, like the
yeah.
Spider-Man and Guardians 2, they kind of especially Guardians 2 had the very like emotional moments near the end that like
Yeah.
this is not an emotional movie. I mean, again, it doesn't try to be, but like
No. Yeah.
And then Spider-Man just felt like as like a very cohesive whole where like literally everything was really good, and this was like
Yeah.
again not quite to that level in some parts, but it's still a very good movie. So so I have this one as my third favorite MCU film, I think. So yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's where it is
fourth,
for me
actually.
too, actually.
Yeah. I was just so like taken off guard by how funny this movie was.
I'd
like,
heard that
how-
there was a good amount of humor in this, so I kind of knew it coming into it, but it was happening in a way that I was like not really expecting half the time. I mean, they say the word orgy in this movie, and it's like that's not what you think they would say,
Well, they actually like Thor swears quite a lot.
Yeah, no, he says like shit like several times. He says I'm gonna kick someone's ass or something, and it's like, damn, all right.
I was like, Thor, did you spend too much time on Earth?
It's just kind of funny. Wait, this is PG-13, right? Oh man, if it's PG-13, that means they could have had one F-bomb. Damn it.
I don't think Thor learned that yet. I don't think Captain learned that yet.
They should because they should need to have like like the one F-bomb in I don't know, probably like Endgame. Just like right at the very end, just like with Thanos, I don't know, the final confrontation, they're just like fuck you, just like punch him in the face. I don't know, but like what was I gonna say? Oh, it reminds me of there's like some thing on Twitter or whatever, I think it was Twitter, where they were like, wait, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith was PG-13, which means it could have had one F-bomb. So like, where do you put the F-bomb? And so there was a bunch of images of like what to do, and like remember one of them was like, fuck you, Anakin, I have the high ground. And then there was another one where it was Darth Vader screaming, but instead of no, it was fuck. And then there was like, oh, when Anakin like is about to kill the kids, it's just the kids just like, oh fuck. And it's just like it's a bunch of stuff like that. I'm like, this is great. I love this. But yeah, so anyway.
We really like this movie.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable, and it points to the first half of this year was not that good.
No.
But like the second half has been really good. So like every movie has been like really damn solid since Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 2, you know what I meant. Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, and then again Guardians 2 is included in that as well. So that's very very impressive. It's going to be an interesting kind of weird split in terms of like I'm curious what the average ranking is going to be for this year for me, because I have, 50 Shades Darker, but we also have like 4 or 5 films that are like, I'd say I have it like the like a lot category. So yeah.
Thank you, Marvel, for saving our ass.
Yeah, it's mostly Marvel.
Yes.
But yeah, the 3. Actually, this is the first year I think where they had 3 Marvel movies in a year.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So there's those 3, Planet of the Apes, Blade Runner, It. All of that's been really solid. And
You know what's hard to believe for me,
Mhm.
actually?
Mhm.
This was 2 years ago.
Oh, true.
well, less than that, like a year and a half ago.
True. I'm just like, that's mind-boggling to me, because all this time it's like, oh, it's in the 90s, oh, it's in the
Ancient
2000s.
history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reality's starting to hit now.
I know, it's just like, oh my god, I feel like we watched like 2012 movies like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's just like, oh god, okay. This is just crazy that we're like almost done. Ah! Oh god. Speaking of that, I guess, oh god.
Oh yeah, we have one more movie this year.
And
It's the controversial one.
very
so, as of right now,
controversial.
I haven't edited, let's see, the last one I edited I think was Gone Girl. I think that's the last one I edited, right, as of right now.
Okay.
So, and I believe, as of that moment, the longest discussion was Avatar at like 53 minutes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because we talked about coding for like 30
Yeah.
minutes or something.
Yeah, and we also had to talk about the year and also the 2000s as a whole.
Right.
So, there is another movie that we have watched after Gone Girl, but before now, which don't remember how long that discussion was. It's probably about the same length, maybe a bit longer. But this next one is almost certainly going to be the longest discussion we will have, except maybe the very last one, because then we'll have a lot to talk about. But yeah, there's... Let me put it this way. No matter what any of us says, someone's going to hate us. So...
Strap in.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. See you
Oh.
for that.
Activate the hyperdrive.
Okay, whatever.